Welcome to Cats and Rats Podcast, covering your Florida Panthers.
Hey everyone, welcome to the newest episode of the Cats and Rats Podcast. This is episode 31. Another goalie episode here, Cody. Sean Burke, Antti Niemi, and my guy, Mr. Anderson. So another goalie number here. We're not going to get into goalies here today, though. We're going to get into contract year players, specifically Aaron Ekblad and Sam Bennett of our Florida Panthers. And then we're going to give you some other NHL comparables. I'm your host, Kirby Lupo, as I said, joined by my co-host, Cody Stevens, and our guest here today, Ben Saunders, as you guys have all heard him here on our podcast before. So we thought we'd bring Ben by because Ben likes to talk defense. And Cody, we're going to start off, I think, with Aaron Ekblad here.
Yeah, this is a unique situation that Aaron Ekblad is currently in, as we should say. Normally, first overall picks are usually traded by this time or locked up again by this time. But Aaron Ekblad's in a very unique situation with his 8-year, $7.5 million extension coming to an end this summer, signed before the 17-18 season. So
coming out of his rookie deal there, right?
Yes, it went from 3 years to immediately this, because at the time he was probably projected to be a top 10 defenseman, which he was during this contract. But the injuries have hindered him in the back half of this contract. Yeah. But like I said, it's hard to find a comparable for him right now. I have a couple of defensemen. One I think is a pretty good comparison to where I think he's at, and that is Torrey Krug, I found.
Okay, Torrey Krug. I didn't hear that name from Ben when I was talking to him off the air. So what are you going to tell us about Torrey Krug?
Well, for those who don't know, Torrey Krug, former Boston Bruins defenseman, was there for a very long time, was the guy that was running their power play for quite a bit, offensive defenseman type deal. Was signed to a 7-year, $6.5 million deal. I believe it was probably right after the COVID year. Because another comp that Ben's going to say as well was also this year. And he was signed by St. Louis due to them losing the guy we're going to mention a little bit later, maybe Alex Pietrangelo, who went to Vegas that summer.
Uh-huh.
And Krug signed this deal at the age of, I think it was 28, 29, somewhere around there. So same age range as Ekblad, kind of the same deal. Though Ekblad, I think, could possibly get a bit more due to the salary cap rising. The defense market is kind of insane.
Now with Krug, he was always penciled in as had the highest, the number 2 D-man, 3D guy. So that's even a little bit lower than Ekblad, but around that level of like what he brought offensively and what he brought to the table, I guess.
Yeah, it's just like I found like a guy that was having injury troubles at the time of the deal or at the time he signed it. So there were some worries about the deal aging poorly. And guess what? It's aged completely poorly because he's not even playing this year due to injuries.
That's right. They came out, like a month before the season or even a little less.
Yeah, and St. Louis even tried to move the deal in certain trades. They tried that.
And he nixed it, right?
Yep. That big deal with Philly that got nixed that was supposedly bring Travis Sanheim, amongst others, to St. Louis that they tried. So that's like kind of where I'm at with the comparison. Because in terms of like the bigger market defenseman, this past summer really wasn't it for big defensemen. Like, because headline like Montour, Shea, and oh dang, I'm blanking on him. Pesci.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 guys are kind of like headlined the defense market this offseason, and like in years past, it's kind of like lackluster. No disrespect.
The summer before was going to be Uyghur, Dumoulin, and like Dumba. It wasn't star-studded.
Yeah,
the last few seasons, the D market has just been really, really shallow. Like it's slim pickings for the league all around, and it's been like all these contracts as well have just completely stifled the league and the way they want to try and move the D around and everything. So, especially coming onto this topic of Ekblad's contract, I mean, the numbers that he's been putting up of late, and the money that he's on, really is really skewed the D market, and along with a lot of other players in the league.
Yeah, the D market was skewed by hello Edmonton once again. Two guys, Darnell Nurse and Seth Jones.
I know you're going to say, I talked to Ben about that off the air.
Both guys.
Market, like where you see with the Bobrovsky contract with goaltending, that's where you see with defense. So everyone kind of looks at Ekblad's lucky here, Cody. He kind of slides in there in not a traditional hockey market. It's like 7.5 million. That's not a lot for Ekblad to not perform at that level.
But at least for during Ekblad's contract, unlike the other two I mentioned, Ekblad was at least more than worth that deal in at least 2 seasons of it.
Yeah, no, not a big chunk of it, but part of it. You could
part of it, yeah.
Yes.
Like up until the President's Trophy year, because the last 2 years is when the downfalls really happened. Up until the President's Trophy year, I can make a serious argument that he's been worth that contract.
Yes, I would agree there. But right after that,
that's when the steep decline happens.
When that first pairing was not good in that first year, analytically they were in the second year, and right now, as of this recording, I don't know what Ekblad's going to be this season.
It's tough because you had games like the Buffalo game where he was like completely horrible, and then you have games like Vancouver where he looked he looked good in the third
period. He was,
he was jumping up into plays. He was bodying people off like the normal stuff Ekblad used to do. I would like him to shoot the puck a lot more.
That part, yeah.
That's
where the fans are not going to give him the free pass that are not liking what he's bringing to the table. Because if he's not having this offensive,
Ekblad's been here for so long, he could do everything good, and he would still be the punching bag.
Yeah, there is that. There is that element. And I told you I like when he brings that sandpaper and grit and puts guys in friggin' headlocks and goes at the Detroit Red Wings players. That's the current day Ekblad that I can accept and almost really like and love. But we don't see those glimpses enough either.
My biggest problem with Ekblad at the moment is he's just not playing like the Ekblad that we all know and love. And being as this is his contract year, and he's currently on 7.5 mil. Yeah. I don't know what his contract's going to look like, what he's going to be offered by the team this year. I can't see him going anywhere close to that by our team. It's free agency. Maybe he gets something else, but I think he can easily get 6 on the open market. 1, name value. Yeah.
Aaron Ekblad, first overall pick. His name is still very valued. 2, cup experience.
Yep, yeah, I agree with that. To the Panthers though, do you think they're going to sign him long term because he's going to want to get at least?
I don't think we're signing either of these guys.
Sign him long term, Cody. Then that brings the AAV down, which the fans it'll be palatable. But then we'll be looking at how long that contract is. And it's like, why are we having contracts where on day one you're already thinking of a buyout? Even though Verhaeghe's ends very late, maybe 1 year at the end of his deal could be a buyout. But we don't want to be having these deals where you're just keeping guys on board. And we'll get into Bennett in a little bit. You don't want to keep these guys on board and have the last 2-3 years already be an anchor.
Yeah, but Verhaeghe's a different story. I mean, this guy just led the team in goals during your Stanley Cup run.
But he's around the same age, so you're saying like what I always say.
But Verhaeghe has way more.
30, right?
Verhaeghe has way less games played though.
That's part of the when I say the young 30 that plays in when I bring that up. Yes.
Rhino doesn't have the mileage on it because he didn't have any of the playoff years in Buffalo. He never made the playoffs in Buffalo. Kachuk he signed when he was 24, 32. That's a whole different conversation. Barkov, that's your franchise face. He's Panther for life. I don't care.
Yeah, he's the one sole exception, I would say, on a lot of those parameters. But Cody, also Reinhart and Verhaeghe, they don't have the mileage of the injuries that Ekblad had onto them, even if they're around that.
We had a Reinhart scare, though.
Yes,
Ekblad's injuries thing is just a big concern for all of us.
Yeah, and there's the 2 big ones were just so damn unlucky. Like the one in Dallas where the toe of his skate gets caught and he twists his ankle, breaks it, done for that year. Then the very next year in Anaheim, the exact same thing, but a less severe injury, thankfully, because he was back for game 1 of the playoffs.
I do wonder if a change of scene would just reset his mind on the injury thing, or is he just so it's almost now in his head with the injury thing that he's never going to get back to the potential that he once was.
I mentioned that to Cody off the air. I'm not hitching my wagon to him on some other team that he's going to have this career resurgence. I could be wrong, but if you gave me odds right now, I would take heavily odds that he would not repeat those couple seasons that he had just recently, Cody, that were those Norris level around bubble.
Like if you ask me, go ahead, Ben.
Sorry, Cody. I know this season is a small sample size at the moment, but like I think with him being on a contract year, I'd like to see him push the envelope a bit with his play, and it just seems to me seems a bit slower at the moment, which is sad to see. So
he could get going after this. We never know, but
yeah,
we'll
I agree with you. But I'm unfortunately doubtful.
Yeah, and I'm just going to preface this by saying this. He is my favorite player to ever put on the Panther jersey. Because for a team that was never had really any great defensemen, like Robert Svela is like the main one that Kirby's generation probably thinks about.
Bouwmeester.
Yeah, Bouwmeester, but he was only there for like, what, 3 years?
No. For me, that's the reason why that jersey
4 years.
There. That is the reason why that jersey's hanging there, because when I went down to Florida, I think I started playing more ice at the time, and I was playing a lot of D, and I was like, that's my guy right there.
Yeah. And like those years where he was like Norris caliber, walking the line on the power play, bombs from everywhere, can defend anyone.
Yep. And I miss the power play. I was saying I can't remember what it was the other day, but I was saying about the power play with the struggles that we have on the power play. I don't know. We don't want to get into the weeds on the power play at the moment, but like the stuff that he could potentially bring back to the power play, maybe try it.
If he just brought back the one-timer, we would have so much more.
Yeah, like the backdoor activation.
Yeah, like here's the thing about Ekblad. He was never a great power play quarterback. That was never the case. He was always better as a trigger man. Like that was always Ekblad's game. Like sit in like the face-off circle and let him hammer one-tees.
And but now this brings me back to the whole contract situation with him in the off season.
Yeah, Ben, you have a guy there. By the way, Cody, Jay Bouwmeester 6 years in Florida. But
6
Ben,
years.
You have a guy, Ben, that you want to talk about, or some comparables?
One of them is Klingberg. The big silly contract that he turned down on his contract year.
Yeah.
If you guys can remember the numbers, I'm thinking it was 7x8.
There was an 8x8 out there as well.
It was an 8x8, really. So
that they wanted, or that they wanted his camp, but then he got the 7x8 offer, I believe.
Yes. His Dallas offered him originally because Dallas was where Klingberg was drafted. That's where he was. That's where his best was. He was offered a 8x7, but his camp wanted 8, the 8x8 type deal. And then that offseason, he went and signed in Toronto for 1 year, $4.15 million, and got hurt. Hasn't played since.
Yep, not on a contract.
And even hell, we were in on him.
Yep.
We were in on him.
Another guy we've also been in on is Jacob Chychrun.
And that's going to be another case because there are a couple defensemen this offseason me and Kirby really want both of them in Vegas. But
one of them is Theodore.
It's me and Kirby are big White Cloud guys.
Yep.
Like Theodore in comparison to Ekblad if you look at, I know again, it's a small sample size start of the season, but if you look at the numbers that they've both put up this season, like Theodore is looking a lot more engaged in the game and play driving than Ekblad is.
I think Theodore can elevate his play right now where Ekblad can't.
I just think Theodore just hasn't had any injuries. But other comparables from the last couple of years, Dougie Hamilton being one, he got that 7x9.5 from New Jersey not too long ago. Probably it's either 9.5 or 9. It's somewhere along those lines. It was 7x9 by New Jersey in the 2021 free agency, the free agency year that we got Verhaeghe, Lomberg, Gudas that year.
And Cody, you know my feelings on Dougie Hamilton. We'll go down that road here today, but you can say on the positive side of Dougie Hamilton, he has, even through the injuries that he has sustained, he hasn't lost his role within the team or teams. He's always been the number one, the PP1 power play guy. And that's my problem with Ekblad is you can like him, not like him, but what is his role? What is his future? That's a bigger question mark than some of these other guys that you've mentioned, and Torrey Krug, Dougie Hamilton. They are what they are, but they kind of, where they fit.
Yep. And that's the problem. And then the last guy, the aforementioned Pietrangelo, he got 7 by 8.8 from Vegas. Because that was the big shock of that offseason, because him leaving St. Louis.
But that's some cup tax built into that as well?
Probably, because Vegas was very desperate at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Like, that was about a year or two before they went and got Eichel.
Yeah. And the leaders in that St. Louis room were Ryan O'Reilly and Pietrangelo for that cup.
Yeah, and Pietrangelo had, at the time of that contract ending, he had his career high in points, which was 52. 16 goals, 36 assists in 70 games.
Is that his career high still, 52?
Actually, no, I was wrong. His career high was 54, but he nearly hit it 52.
But that's in Ekblad's ballpark.
He matched his career high in 22-23, the year they won the cup, with 54 points in 73 games. So contract year, had a really good year. When St. Louis, he was pretty much like a almost Norris candidate kind of at years.
I think so, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, top 5. I don't knock into the top 3. Up against some tough competition there. Duncan Keefe's of the world and Drew Dow. Guys like that, right?
The only other high sorry to jump in, Cody. The only other high guy, the high draft pick guy I think he was first overall was Erik Johnson.
And he got traded. So it's not even the same thing.
Like I said, the Ekblad case is such a unicorn thing because of the high numbers that he's on at the moment. Like, I mean, with the Erik Johnson thing, he had, what was it? I just quickly check off the top.
Like because he was traded after his 3rd year.
Yeah, because he had he was on 3.75, and then he signed 6 on the nose.
Yeah, like
Cody, would you call Erik Johnson injury prone?
I don't know about injury prone. Probably not.
The one injury he had was on the golf course, which was him sticking his leg out of the golf cart and tearing his whole knee up. So it wasn't even on the ice.
Yeah, and that's just pure stupidity. But but he was traded for Kevin Shattenkirk, like after his 3rd year, like a very young Kevin Shattenkirk. That's how he ended up.
He moves around a lot.
Yeah, and I think Chris Stewart was in that deal, but I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but
Erik Johnson's numbers stayed similar after he was traded. He actually the first year after his contract went up, he had I think he had like 17 points, but it was like 46 games. So he was almost gonna be higher if he played the full season. He would have been higher. I don't know if that was a lockout year or whatever it was.
But Johnson over time became one of the better top pairing shutdown guys in the league. A key catalyst for. He was a catalyst for the Colorado Avalanche's Stanley Cup victory. Let's see. Yeah, he had 25 points. His career high was 39 points back in 13-14, which I think was the disaster year for Colorado. Or I don't know if that was probably the disaster year. But in terms of defense, Aaron Ekblad.
Where do you guys encapsulate this? Where are we going with Ekblad here? What do you see?
I don't see an extension coming from Zito, and it's just because of the way Zito has done his work. I feel once he feels like he's used up as everything he can, he just moves on.
Yeah, because I agree with that. Sorry, Cody. Like I said again, I agree with you. I just don't see Zito paying him anything close to what he's going to get on the open market. I don't think there's even going to be a team-friendly deal involved.
Yeah, he might not even get that offer that some fans think he's going to get, Ben.
I even think they might consider trading him at the deadline to try and shore this up and get something for him.
It depends.
That's a bold proposition, Cody.
It depends at where we're at.
If we're in a wild card spot, maybe.
I doubt that, but
that's what I mean. I don't know if we're first, second in the division, are they going to tinker with that?
He's like, you're in a cup window. I'm fine with losing guys at free agency. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta let them walk. Like, I was fine before we got Kachuk. I was completely fine with letting Uyghur walk.
Yeah, I definitely was. But Ekblad is a different case because of how long he's been with the franchise. But you also have to take your emotions out of it and look at it logically and objectively.
Which
is that's what Zito will do.
Yeah, because Zito has no ties to him. He never signed him any deal. He didn't even draft him. Yep. So that's the key
Less
thing.
than the fans do.
Yeah, like some fans are like, because here's the thing, he's plastered above Emmerich. Like you see everyone sees him when you leave a game and when you go to the game.
Like, he is one of the faces of the franchise.
Yeah, like now, I mean, once he's gone, they're probably gonna put Kachuk up there. But moving on.
Moving on, Cody. We're gonna go to Bennett next.
Yeah, he's the other contract guy.
I got his numbers here. Currently on a 4-year contract, cap hit of $4.4 million. It expires this summer, just like Ekblad, so he'll become a UFA. He will be 29 years old, just like Ekblad will be 29. Darren Ferris is his agent. I've talked about this before. He likes to take his clients all the way to free agency. I've got a bunch of examples here. I'll get into them here in a second. But I found a couple last summer. Let's just go there first. Jake DeBrusk, who's 28 years old, and then Dakota Joshua, who's a different situation, being a younger guy, unproven guy, both 28 years old. Jake DeBrusk went from a $4 million contract to a $5.5 million, I believe. And Dakota Joshua went from an $825K to a $3.25 million. And
the Marchman jump.
That was because of their work in the playoffs in those 2 rounds with the Vancouver Canucks. Let's look at what Sam Bennett's done over the last 2 years. Stanley Cup Finals appearance, Stanley Cup champion. We're going to get into some cup tax stuff. And I've got a lot of different examples to throw at you guys here. But Cody, go ahead with Sam Bennett here, what you're seeing, what you're kind of comparing them to.
Well, Sam Bennett's going to get more than DeBrusk because he plays center.
Correct.
Center is a lot more of a...
Yeah. These are my last summer comparables, like not position or anything like that. Yeah.
Like position-wise, like last summer, like the closest, if we were trying to go center, Chandler Stevenson would have been my only comparable. But Chandler Stevenson is a little bit more, like a lot more of a playmaking center, where Sam Bennett is just more a culture kind of setter.
Now, I'm going to keep on the winger front here, guys, because like I'm going to throw some centers at you in here in a bit. But these were 2 players that came out of nowhere. Valerie Nichushkin, who's on the Colorado Avalanche now, Mason Marchment, used to be with the Panthers. In 21-22, they surprised fans coming out of nowhere on their contract years. 52 points for Nichushkin and 47 for Marchment. Why do I mention that? Sam Bennett has never cracked 50 points in his career. So those guys signed, Nichushkin signed a $6.1 million per year deal, and Mason Marchment signed a $4.5 million per year deal. Again, Cody, these are like wingers, right? They're not centermen. Look at the pay upgrade that they got on a small sample size, but where they are comparable to the point totals that Bennett has had. So again, you get into cup tax, you get into the intangibles that Bennett brings to the table. Right now, currently a 2C. I don't know how long that lasts moving forward, but again, I pulling up a lot of numbers here to show people of like they think we might be getting him at some sweetheart deal by 5x5 or 5.25. Look at what Nichushkin and Marchment are getting on very small sample sizes, Cody.
Yeah, but here's the difference between Ekblad situation and the Bennett situation. And this is why I'm on the side you don't resign Sam Bennett. You have a replacement in-house. And he's legit outplaying him right now. Like, I heard like a bunch of people trying to say, I don't know if Lundell's a 2C. Now do you wonder? Like, he had 17 points in the playoffs last year. He had more than Reinhart in the playoffs last year. And then so far this year, when Barkov out, after the second game against Ottawa, he's been phenomenal outside that one game against Buffalo where everyone was horrible. But Lundell's been phenomenal. And the thing is with Bennett, like people like we can get him for a 5x5. I want that $5 million to go to the back end.
Yeah.
Because I'm hearing people come in and say, our defense sucks. And then they want to pay Bennett $5 million at the same time. It's not going to compute. You gotta look. Zito's like. Here's the thing. We can go find a third center, a 3C. That ain't the hard part. I feel like those coming in like a dime a dozen. And Zito's been very good with finding centers. Look at his track record. Lundell. He found Bennett. He found Wenberg that 1 year too.
Find a guy like Erod, but put him at center. A guy that's
just find another Wenberg.
And to piggyback off what you're saying about off Lundell, the whole thing with Lundell was that we nurse him in to be in the 2C. If we keep hold of Bennett, what does that do for Lundell?
Yeah,
we can't, and we're not gonna pay Bennett what he's, because I think this year Bennett is gonna have an absolutely monstrous contract here.
Yeah, what numbers are you putting it at?
I reckon he's gonna get 50 points this year.
Who, Bennett?
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised because of contract year, but
like I wouldn't use the word monster on that, Ben. For Bennett, I would say a monster year for has to be 65-70. To me, that would be Cody.
Yeah, to me that's like superstar level numbers. Just where you're getting into the territory there. But for
well,
Bennett,
that's 2C numbers, Ben. That
But like 50-60 is 2C.
But monster would be 60 to 75 for Cody.
Yeah, the perfect.
That's less than a point per game.
Like the
60 to 70, let's say.
Yeah, to me, when you say perfect comp free agency for Bennett, there's one guy that comes to mind: Vincent Trocheck. He is the prime example of it. He was a 2C coming out of Carolina, and the Rangers signed him in that role. And hell, he played better than their 1C at points last year.
I want to throw cup tax centers to you guys. So I wrote this down and I went through the last few years, and I also added Lundell in this because he's a cup champion. So cup tax centers, UFAs other than Lundell. Ivan Barbashev went from $2.25 million to $5 million on a 5-year deal.
That contract was so stupid.
Nazem Kadri in Colorado went from a $4.5 million deal to a $7 million deal by 7
that
with the Calgary
crazy
Flames.
Contract.
And he's older than Bennett, and he got a contract like that. And then Anton Lundell just recently, RFA, different, $925K to $5 million. Like Cody said, no bridge deal from Zito. We're right at it, $5 million for 6 years for Lundell. Probably not to be your 3C of the future, to be your 2C. Just look at the money and the numbers. So, guys, any thoughts there? That's cold, hard facts for the Bennett fans. We can squeeze them in.
It's just like Bennett has done great things for this organization. He's done phenomenal. We would not have won the cup without him, no doubt in my mind. But there's just comes to a point where the money just doesn't add up. It just doesn't make sense to me to give him $5 million when you need a $5 million defenseman back there right now. It's just you can't. I don't see us being successful with paying $20 million to 3 centermen.
Cody, you can pull up the Puckpedia if you want, the Florida Panthers roster. I also want to get into Burakovsky and Horvat because I know you have some stuff to add on Horvat. But Ben, go ahead there. With anything that...
Yeah, I'll even go as far as I think if Bennett hits the open market, I reckon someone's going to give him 7.
I reckon I don't know about 7, but he could get close.
7's a big number, but I think there's there's teams out there that love the qualities that Bennett could actually bring to their team. 7 million.
I'll say
is a lot of money.
6.25 to 6.75, but Ben, you see 7.
But Kirby, you said 6.25, right?
But I'm just thinking about Kadri. Like what did Kadri get?
7x7. But Kadri put up more points than Bennett has, though. Kadri was like damn near a point per game in Colorado.
What's Kadri's numbers? Because Ben said he's picturing a monster year out of Bennett there, but I don't think Bennett's ever reached those point totals. And similar players and how they play, heavy game, like borderline dirty. There's a lot of.
They're very similar. Now that I think about it, but I think Bennett's like a lot more physical. Kadri's a
better playmaker, you'd say.
Yeah, but Kadri's more of like a lippy type guy. Like Bennett will just run you over, and when he signed that deal, Kadri had 87 points in 71 games.
And that's not as a 1C when he was in Toronto.
No,
I can't see Bennett putting up those types of numbers, but I think he's going to command, because teams throw out stupid money on free agency as we've seen it time and time again.
Yeah, like I'll give you Trocheck. Trocheck at his contract year put up 51 points in 81 games. He really had some down year. Carolina, he had a down year, but then he goes to New York, 64 points, his first year in New York, then 77 the year after. These are 2Cs on great teams.
I don't see Bennett doing that if he goes
like
even the Leafs. I don't know if he does 64, 77. I don't know.
Like, luckily for the Panthers, we've had great wingers to offset that kind of like scoring imbalance, like Verhaeghe and Reinhart. Reinhart with 57, Verhaeghe with 40 the year before.
Yep. You got a guy like Tkachuk on your second line winger.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
so,
like
because you got Barkov on 1C. Like Barkov alleviates a lot of that. But
yeah, and you said 6.25 for Bennett?
If a team is going to ridiculously pay him 6.25 to 6.7.
No, there's a reason why I say that, because the guy I mentioned earlier, remember Chandler Stevenson? That's his exact cap hit.
Really?
6.5.
Yes, and he had
he's going to get that.
Yeah, and he had 64.65 points and 51 points. 51 points was his contract year. And it's just showing, like, Bennett, like, to me...
Another cup tax guy.
Yeah, like, Bennett, like, here's the thing. If you sign Bennett to, what a 5x5 people are saying, he can go on the market, and that's $25 million total. When he can go out to the market, if I get a 7x6.
And the key, Cody, isn't the money; it's the extra year or two.
Yeah, that's 40. That's $42 million compared to $25 million with 2 extra years. That's $17 million in difference.
And I don't blame him if he does go out the free agency and get that kind of bag. Exactly. You know, you've won your cup.
Go and get what you deserve, dog. Like,
yeah, you've won your cup. You've put the work in. Go and sort out your family for the rest of your life. Go and do it. You know, good luck to you. That's all I say about Bennett.
Yeah,
he's deserved it.
Yeah, like the second best player to wear number 9 for Florida. Sorry, I still think it's Stephen Weiss.
Yeah, I would put Stephen Weiss there. I know Bennett has a cup now and everything.
But Bennett is, no matter where you go with Bennett, he's gonna always be a Panther. Like, Montour's a Kraken right now, but he's always gonna be a Panther. Like, that was his best year. That's where he won a cup and everything. Same thing with Stenlin. He may have been here 1 year, but he's going to be remembered as a Panther.
Now, you're saying that about Bennett?
Bennett's going to be remembered as a Panther.
What if, and I've looked this up with the contracts, he goes to Toronto Stanley Cup. That's a thing there. First Cup's in 67.
And Toronto are a team that would love Bennett on this.
They're looking at him, I think, because Tavares' deal and what other deal am I
Marner.
The Marner one, yeah. And then there's another one in there that's kind of expiring. I think Domi expires in a year or two.
Oh, no. Like, I don't know where Morgan Riley's, like, he got up a couple years ago, so it's like he's probably in the middle of it.
Yeah. But that Tavares one, he goes out the door, Bennett comes in the door. That's easy. That's only about a little bit more than half the money that Tavares is getting right now. So have the cap to do that. It's behind Matthews as the 2C.
I could see Bennett in a place like, I don't know, who's lacking centers? Colorado, I wouldn't be surprised.
There's some teams within our division.
Detroit, definitely. Detroit, Ottawa might.
Yeah. Ottawa, Morris kind of thing hanging over them.
Honestly, I could see him going back to Calgary. Like,
that would be interesting. They better leave him at center.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, what?
Anything else on the Bennett front, guys? Like, we're saying both of these guys are going out the door. I think there's a possibility. There's also a possibility that one of them come back. I think it's very low odds.
I think the odds are higher that both go.
Yeah, like I said, I think Bennett will outprice himself here anyway, and
Ekblad is just best to part ways.
Yeah,
it hurts for me to say that, but
yeah, his declining in play is just not good for both parties, basically.
Yeah, and with the Panthers have 8 years of their core locked up in the future, it just ain't gonna be make a lot of good sense to keep a declining defenseman when your cup window's really like about six years now. The current cup window is however long the Barkov and Tkachuk contracts are. That's how I feel about it.
And the big free agents this summer is Mitch Marner, as of this recording, 27 years old, $10.9 million, and Nikolai Ehlers in the forward ranks at 28 years old. He's making $6 million. I think Bennett falls in somewhere after those guys. Those guys are looking for a pay increase as well.
Nikolai Ehlers, that's a Panther guy, but
that's it. But so many wingers.
I know.
I don't want more. You say you don't want center money being tied up with D money. I don't want winger. money.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that's a Panther guy, but we don't have the money. We'll have the money in
Yeah.
2 years when Bob's is up. Like, because here's the thing: you have Tavares, Marner, Jamie Benn, Mikko Rantanen. I think he's gonna get done, but we'll see. Then you have Dmitry Orlov, Ekblad, Ivan Provorov, Brock Besser's a free agent, Claude Giroux, Marchand. I think he's if he ain't gonna leave Boston, he might retire. Nikolai Ehlers, Brock Nelson's another one. Now Vladislav Gavrikov, Neil Pionk, Andrew Mangiapane, Shesterkin, Kuzmenko, Shea Theodore, as we mentioned earlier. Mikhail Granlund, Zucker, Chikrin. Dobson's it's an RFA this offseason.
That's right. You mentioned Brock Nelson in there. That's a comparable for
Evan Bouchard's
I was
RFA.
thinking about Brock Nelson.
Yeah.
An RFA. He's gonna get probably get more than Bennett to stay on the
Brock
island.
Nelson a little bit older, but bigger sample size of points and production and things like that.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about his age because he's gotten better with age.
No,
but this is shaping up to be one of the bigger free agent classes the last 2 years. Because the last 2 years were very just
like. But we'll see throughout the season. These guys extend.
Yeah.
We'll put this out, and one or two of them could. Who knows?
We'll see. Pretty much it.
Anything else, guys?
Nope.
On that front. Yeah, Ben, thanks for joining us. Where can everyone follow you? I know a lot of our community knows you, but on the podcast side, let everyone know.
Yeah, just at Ben Saunders 38 on Instagram and X, Twitter, wherever it's being called by the kids nowadays.
Yep. Kirby, what's our sponsor? What's our sponsor looking like?
Oh yeah, we got no pucks today.
We got this one. Go ahead, roll it out.
Which one is that?
Eastern Conference Finals from a years ago.
Okay, a couple years ago. Okay.
Panthers fever is here. Are you geared up? Caneswear in Davie is the place for all your Florida Panthers needs. They have the latest gear for our favorite NHL team. Jerseys, polos, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Caneswear has you covered. Stop by their store in Davie or at pantherswear.com. Again, that's pantherswear, WEAR.com for all your Panthers gear.